All right. How's everybody doing? Good. Did everybody get yesterday off of work? I know
Not sick anymore.
You're not sick anymore. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Shani was really sick. You had the flu.
Oh.
Yep. Oh, people just keep popping up.
Oh my gosh. The flu was the worst thing. And I was in the hospital. Hospital twice. I was hospitalized. It was bad.
Were you dehydrated? Why were you hospitalized?
Actually, so I had everything. So the thing is, the fever was okay, and then the fever kept coming in and out, and then to the point that one day, like on the day of Christmas, I started throwing up, and then I was like halfway through Christmas, I said, I need to go to the ER, and then of course all the ERs are booked, and you stay in there from 6 in the evening till 3 in the morning.
Oh my
gosh! Getting two what do you call those huge. I don't know these things. But I'm having the flu, sinus infection, and ear infection, everything. Like it was like total package for me.
Wow.
Best way to end 2017, I tell you. It was the worst.
That's terrible. I'm so sorry.
And then everybody at home was sick too, and my daughter.
It's
but much better now. I'm laughing at it now that I'm.
Yeah, it's no joke. The flu is no joke. All right, we're all getting settled in here.
It's crazy. But we're good. All back to normal. Hopefully all back to normal,
Good. All right, Dabika's here. Dabika, hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Maybe today is my last day for this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm flying tomorrow. Everybody knows that my uncle is very sick. He had 2 cardiac arrests already, and he's calling me over and over. He wants to see me.
Yeah.
And I was not really prepared for it. I didn't have any packing, nothing yet. So tomorrow noontime is my flight. And it is so hard to get the flight to Calcutta because most of the airlines doesn't go to Calcutta. They go to Delhi and Madras or Bombay.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to really 3 stopovers. From Baltimore, I have to go to Chicago to Zurich to Delhi to Calcutta.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so and different airlines. That's the saddest part. Because from here, I'm taking United to Chicago, and then from Chicago to Zurich is Swiss, and from there Zurich to Delhi, Swiss, and then from Delhi to Calcutta is Air India. So I'm starting 17th. I'm going to reach there on 19th.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God. And what's the time difference in India? It's there ahead of us, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
it is now. What time is it? 8:35. So it will be their evening time. It will be like 7:30 sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes like that. Yeah.
Wow.
You can find it in their time.
That's quite
so there will be a lot of time difference.
Yeah.
I can find the time in the Google. That's how I find it.
Yeah.
When I call, because we have different relatives in different parts of the India, so they're going to give me the time right now. It's 7:05 a.m.
Oh, okay.
In the morning.
Early, yeah. Early.
Yeah. So they are already on Wednesday now.
Okay.
So when I'm going to join you guys in a Zoom chat. That will be if you're doing on Tuesday, I will be Wednesday morning. I will be joining you from there.
Oh, okay.
Which is not that bad. I can do that. As long as I'm trying to make sure that they have arranged for me a fast internet connection, because it's very slow over there. So they're trying to get me the fastest one, so I can do it. I don't get cut out because of the slow thing. So I'll be joining as soon as I go there and I get everything settled, and I hopefully keep up my fingers crossed that he'll be okay. So probably, so we'll see.
All right. Well, we'll all
Keep
be
me in your
thinking about
prayers.
you. Yeah. No, and safe travels. That's a long.
Long trip,
Yeah.
it's a long trip, and I'm going there after 4 years.
Wow.
That's a little while.
That's why he is so eager to see me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's very hard. It's very expensive, and it's it's a too long flight. It's too long.
it is a long flight. Well, just
Yeah.
it is a long flight, and you'll be there for 1 month, right?
Hopefully,
Okay.
because we didn't get the return ticket yet.
Oh, okay.
Reservation. That's the
So you have
reason.
some flexibility. Okay. Good.
Return ticket, and then I'll see how much, because this is a busy time. Winter time, everybody from here, they go over there because the weather is good. So, and they try to come back by springtime.
Mm-hmm.
So I will see, when I get the reservation, as soon as I get it, I'll come back, definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll wish you all the best on your travels, and then we'll see you next Tuesday at chat. And
hopefully.
And,
And you guys can send me emails. I will return your call, and I'll check your post and stuff, whatever you need me, anytime, and I will be in touch with Mercedes, so
okay.
she'll be able to convey you the message. But you can always email me. That's the best way. Or if you have WhatsApp, then do you have WhatsApp?
I do.
Then WhatsApp is the best. You have my WhatsApp number. It's my mobile number. It's my mobile number.
Oh, okay. I'll check. Yeah, WhatsApp is the international preferred.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And we can even make the video call, voice call, so we can see each other and talk.
Great.
That
All
should
right.
be
Well, don't worry about anything while you're gone, Devika. We'll I'm here.
Yeah, you are there.
So.
Elaine is there. So everybody's there, and they're taken good care of. But still, if you need me, I'm there. So.
All right. Thank you. Awesome. Well, so should we? I reviewed the material, if you could believe that. I feel like we're still kind of, whenever we chat, we're like right at the tail end of one section and then beginning the new section. So, but what I thought we would talk about tonight is the crisis, right? The crisis of development was one of the questions. We read the chapter about the father's presence, and then the chapter about a crisis of development. There was some nice lecture. Megan Hicks is really a wonderful speaker. I don't know how you experience her, but she's very engaging. Some of this, Terry's so wonderful because she's so enthusiastic, and but it's definitely for me kind of not everyone is that compelling, I find. And the way that she talks about whatever topic she's discussing is really, she has a beautiful vocabulary and a really nice language, I think, to describe it.
That sweet accent helps too.
It's
one of my favorites, the Australian accent. It's so cool.
Maybe that's it too. Yeah.
What accent is it? What accent is it?
Megan Hicks, she's Australian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Australian, there you go.
Yeah.
Accent, you're right.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It definitely is inviting. So I thought that she had some really good things to say about movement. One of the things that I always think is really interesting is what did you think of there was some information from Emmy Pickler about the natural gross motor development of infants, and an article by Janet Lansbury about I think it was called like the downside of propping babies up. Did you guys read that?
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
Mm-hmm.
It makes a lot of sense.
I thought, couldn't believe my kids were fine.
I think it's so pervasive that we prop our babies up. And we think we're helping. So it was very interesting. My mom is a retired orientation and mobility specialist, so she's worked with infants and toddlers with vision impairments for years. And she goes, or used to go into homes and do consultations and help families. And she, I don't know where she got her information originally, but she really advocated for natural motor development, especially for kids that cannot see. That the consistency of their environment and using the vision that they had and not propping them up. So I remember with my children, my mom would advise me not to prop them up, but I still used a lot of containers. So, but it's that kind of information that you want to get out and share with people. Yeah.
Well, I think it's hard because in our, we see we've had a lot of discussions this year, more than any other year, about how we can really front load parents coming into the infant community, because we have found so many times that parents are propping, like they'll come in, they'll come in and they'll be like, oh, she loves to walk. And they've got this whatever 7-month-old baby and they've got him in a walking position. Look how she loves to walk. And, we're like, well, that's a reflex and not quite ready for that. And, but once so we've had a lot of discussions about how hard it is, the babies that are propped up at home, that are manipulated, that are put into positions that they can't get themselves into, spend a full day when they come back from the weekend being really, really mad. Like they just complain all day about, why aren't you putting me, who knows what they're saying. To me, I am adjacent. That's what it sounds like. They're like, woman, prop me up. I can sit up. And we tend not to do that. So finding how, how do we communicate with parents, and you want to do it before they're sitting their baby up, because then they feel like they're getting into trouble, right? So I don't know. Do you have how do we get that information out there? Especially when there's not, necessarily, well, honestly, the consensus in the Montessori community is that tummy time is something that we would do. Like I got some materials from NAMTA, and they all say, tummy time. I talked to, what's her name? Sarah Mowdrey. Do you know who that is? She's she made the movie Edison's Day. And she got really hot about, the idea that we wouldn't put an infant on their stomach. What do you guys, I don't know. It was really interesting.
That's hard to fight, I think, because pediatricians say it so much. And I actually, my sister-in-law, of whom her parenting choices I do not normally agree with at all, she said to me, I refuse to put my kids on their stomach. All they do is scream. They hate it. Why would I do that? And I was just like, but it's so important. They're never going to get head control if you don't put them, to me, I was like, no, you have to, But then doing this week, and I was like, yeah, maybe it's not that important. And then I was thinking about how if you watch a baby roll over from back to stomach, how much neck strength that takes, because they have to lift their whole head, almost throw their head to the side to do it. And so they apparently can build that strength without having a ton of tummy time to practice lifting their head.
Right.
So, I don't know. To me, it started to make sense. And I was like, yeah, it must be frustrating to be placed in a position that you didn't get to on your own, and you can't get out of on your own, and you can't see anything, especially for any prolonged period of time in that position.
Well, so what happened with your sister-in-law's child? I'm assuming that they learned to
They're fine.
walk just fine.
Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. Totally fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they might do some other stuff I think is
right.
not fine, but
they're walking.
They are definitely not Montessori by any means, but physically they're just fine.
Right.
They actually probably may have done a lot of like physical milestones before my children did. So
well, and I mean there's such a huge range of normalcy in development, especially gross motor development. And I mean, who's to like the fact that most children will get there without lessons or, you know, special apparatus or special exercises tells us that, you know, we just need a good, big, you know, a space that invites movement, promises success, right? All of those things.
I thought the part, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought the part about getting incorrect information in containers was really interesting. I hadn't heard it explained quite that way, that your brain will actually have to relearn sort of that vestibular input that you received when you were in that bouncy seat or whatever container you were in was giving you false information. So you have to relearn it. So in a time that isn't your sensitive period, and it's more difficult.
So I thought that was pretty interesting too, because there's some kids in my class that when I read or heard that, it was like, oh, that makes so much sense. That's why they have a hard time. Some of the kids like lay on the table and they can't stand up straight. Like, is that why? Because they were forced to sit up and they didn't develop those muscles? I don't know. But I thought that's a great, I loved the way that they talked about that because it makes so much sense. You know, some of my little guys have such a hard time walking and doing certain things, and I think, oh, is there something wrong with them, or are they underdeveloped? I mean, like, what can I do? I'm at the stage now of like, what can I do to help them with that? But it made so much sense when I heard that. I was like, oh yeah.
That makes me think of when they talked about that sort of false sense of movement. Like, it's not you moving yourself, like the baby feeling the movement of a swing or in a carrier, and then it just, I can't remember exactly how they described it, but it just creates this false sense of movement. And I think that could go on to affect children's like awareness of their own bodies in space and like how much space they have between them and the table they're walking past, and because they're just not really grounded, like they never had that firm surface to feel themselves move against. I don't know.
Exactly. I have a few kids that kind of like they flounder out there in space, like they don't know where their like their bubble is, I guess.
Yeah.
And so like when they're walking, they just bump into people, but they don't mean to bump into people. They just do it. So I think
that sounds like
that makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, that sounds like the proprioceptive input, like where your body is in space. We have a little boy that runs into things and people, and he if you observe him, it just seems like he does not know where his body is until it makes contact with something else or someone else, and I mean, it's terrible. It's a really hard thing for him.
Yeah. I have one.
What do we do with
the mirror of the class every day?
What do they do?
He runs into the mirror.
Into a mirror, and he runs, and we call all of them in, and he runs inside, and he bumps into the mirror, and then he sits down. Every day, the same.
Maybe just likes to watch his reflection get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow. Well, I mean, I think that when I took my Rye Foundations course, one of the things that made a lot of sense to me is that when we're propping babies up, when we're putting them into positions that they can't get into, then we're denying them the opportunity for the reflexes to develop into purposeful movement. And that's where you get this potentially, you know, a child that hasn't fully developed their proprioceptive, you know, that ability because they didn't have a chance to go from reflex to purposeful movement. The opportunity was denied because they were put into positions that they couldn't get into. So you put a baby on their back and they're going to move through the progression of reflex into, and then eventually reflex gives way to purposeful movement. And I don't know, I mean, my, the associate who did my class talked about, you know, that children they kind of have to go back, and that if we can encourage things like, you know, like an army crawl or even crawling or just going kind of, you can't really go back, but going, being able to experience those, you know, those movies. Like I propped my baby. I know it's hard to believe. And he developed a really funny way of locomotion. He would sit on his bottom and he would scoot along.
It was a scooter.
I know. And then and it was adorable. And he would get really excited and he'd do like this like double jump that was very but now I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, that's why he can't read. You know, that's why he has I know, I laugh, but I'm like, is that why? You know, he didn't crawl, it's everything. But you know, it was very difficult for him to learn how to read. And of course, that's right where my mind goes, is I propped him. But now, you know, and what do we do? You know, it's not like you can tell a parent. So back in those days when you were an early parent and you were an obstacle to your child's development, you messed them up, and and now they run into a mirror and throw themselves onto the floor. So,
well, when I was working in YWCA in New York for a long time ago when I was an intern, and my director was Vincenza Freda. She was from Italy Childbirth Center. She was my philosophy teacher when I was, you know, being the intern. And we had infants had to go for the swimming lessons. And they had the swimming pool, indoor pool inside. And it was so interesting, especially the you know, infants. You just take them and put them on the water like this, and they just go. You know, you don't have to. Then they with their muscles and, you know, hands and legs, everything is moving, and they're swimming, and they learn so fast swimming, and that like a natural instinct. They're just doing it, just like they're floating inside their mommy's tummy. Right. So it was so interesting. And I think that swimming is very important because it helps, the buoyancy helps the children to hold it up, and they can freely move their legs and hands and keep their heads. But you know, the instructor was there, but still the child was doing it all by itself. And I felt so, you know, I was very young that time. I'm talking about 80s. And it was really interesting for me. I used to go there and observe how they're doing it. And they're very young. They used to take children from 6 weeks. So the children are very young children, like maybe 2 months, 3 months, children are swimming, and they are learning like a natural swimmers.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I remember when my oldest was younger, they were doing where they take like the little couple, I don't know, they were like really tiny babies, and they would just like throw them into the pool and they would naturally swim to the side.
Yeah.
And I thought, I am a water person all the way around, but I thought, I don't know if I would ever do that, just throw my baby into a swimming pool. But I mean, it kind of makes sense, but I don't know. It was weird. I guess.
And it's very easy for the children to move inside the water. You know, when they're on the water, it's much easier for them to move, and there is no restrictions and so much space. They can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's very healthy, and also, you know, it helps the motor development, large motor development.
Great. Well, swimming, I can't imagine the kind of liability that would come with.
Yeah. we all need swimming pools in our infant class.
No, it's indoor swimming pool, and they had the instructor. It's YWCA, so they had all the arrangements.
Fun. No, that's
it
awesome.
was really fun. I enjoyed it. And the kids were enjoying it, actually.
Great.
Well, during the summer, we take our kids for summer care over to the pool and swim, and I take my 2-year-olds over there.
I salute you. That's incredible.
It's fun. I love it. I mean, we do it every other Friday. We go over there because we're right across the street from a park, and it has a public pool there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's literally one of my worst nightmares. I'm glad that you have, but I'm constantly like counting the children and like, I feel like it would be too much.
It's a little stressful, but the kids love it and it's a lot of
They
fun.
love it. They love it.
Yeah.
And you can suggest the parents, they can take their kids and
yes,
that would be fun, instead of propping them up like this, take them to the pool, throw them in the pool and, swim with them. Enjoy your time with the children.
But my kids are 2. I don't have infants, so my kids are 2.
I bet the 2-year-olds love it.
I remember. Did anybody else, as a like young parent, like worry about putting babies on the floor? I just felt like I wasn't supposed to put a baby on the floor. I don't know why, but as it turns out, you're supposed to put the baby on the floor.
My kids lived on the floor, really.
Yeah.
It's like it's a dirty place, or I don't know.
Maybe some parents are conscious about the germs and stuff. But when they're with the children, everywhere there are germs, and it is sometimes good for the children to get used to with those germs because they need to. Otherwise, they will be sick all the time.
The more and more I read and go through the lessons, I realize how much we don't know about raising children, infants especially. And like you say, how we're taught, don't put your child on the floor, don't put your child on his tummy, put your child on his back, and how much we don't trust the natural instincts that babies have. And we just, we lose out and miss because we underestimate the psychic instincts of babies and their knowledge over what we have.
I just want to acknowledge that is a very profound statement, and I think that that's really the core of what I learned from Magda Gerber, and what I would hope would be, and it's very Montessori, but how the idea that a baby comes into the world and that they have opinions about things, and they're like, we got to respect that, they have preferences. They're little people. They're not. So that idea that we trust the child is, thank you for that. Sorry, go ahead, Chris. I just wanted to.
No, that's okay. I was just thinking how during all this, I was thinking this week of how things go in cycles, like we had to do a safe sleep thing for the state, and how it was like, you're not supposed to swaddle the kids, you're not supposed to, but during the time that we were taking that class, the norm thing, or the new the trendy thing was to swaddle your baby, and they were selling like special swaddling cloths, and so it's pretty weird, or it's pretty funny to me, the way that society goes through trends of like, you're supposed to swaddle your baby, but like 4 years down the road, you're like, oh no, you're not supposed to swaddle your baby. So, and way back in child development classes, when I got my 3 to 6 year old training, we talked about that different stuff, and it was like, oh well, 10 years ago they were saying the same thing that now all of a sudden everybody's like, oh no, you're supposed to do this. So I think if we listen to the old people and what they the theories that they came up with, it was like, why don't we stick to what worked? And then listening to your child too, of like, maybe one of the babies doesn't like to be swaddled. I mean, my daughter was like, she didn't like to snuggle. She just wanted to be put in her bed and go to bed, but I wanted to snuggle her. So she is now a snuggler, but yeah, definitely.
Well, and that's the thing. Some babies maybe want to be on their stomach. Maybe they like the tummy time. Some babies, some babies want to be swaddled. Other babies don't want to be swaddled. Safe sleep is a topic, though, of discussion in my state right now and in my city, because 2 babies died in the last 3 months from SIDS. Yeah, in centers. And so we're really they're really cracking down on, which as they should be, although it's really difficult for me to understand how a baby could die of SIDS in a center, because there's so much, how, I don't know. I don't understand how that happens.
I thought that research more recently, my son's only 2, so when I had him, was really suggesting and really leaning towards that SIDS was more a pre-existing condition, underlying condition that nobody detected, and it really, for the most part, has nothing to do with how the baby was sleeping, what was in their crib. Babies suffocate, obviously, but that's not SIDS, that's suffocation, and you can tell, so that is hard to sort of identify and safe sleep is an important topic. I totally agree. It's something that should be talked about, but it's not, you can't pinpoint what causes SIDS, which is why it's called sudden infant death syndrome. I mean, it's not.
Well, and the thing is that SIDS is more prevalent in some countries than in other countries. And in countries where there is co-sleeping, typically SIDS rates are lower. And so but one of the safe sleep standards is not to co-sleep. And so it's confusing.
But that's confusing because I know I think it was 2 summers ago, my girlfriend's niece had twins. And one of the twins unfortunately passed in the crib, and they were together. One of the twins passed, but the other twin was fine. So you're right, Laura. You can't really kind of tell.
Yeah.
Yes, something was happening.
Breathe. They forget. They're so used to being in the womb, and they just kind of forget to breathe. And
And that's what I have heard also, and that's the theory behind why in countries where there is co-sleeping, that SIDS is less prevalent because there's another person there kind of breathing. And that's when our babies sleep, there's always a teacher. I just have somebody sit right there. Because I just, it's so terrifying to me. But there's just so much, the babies don't go into cribs. They they're on floor mats, and they don't go into a separate room. They're in the classroom with the other children. So it's always kind of loud. I feel like it's probably hard for them to fully fall asleep. But anyway, sorry for the digression. Well, so what struck you guys is, interesting. Anne, I haven't heard from you yet. It's nice to see you. We got the picture and everything.
I've been running. I have my eyeglasses on. I can see all of you guys.
Yay. Great to see you.
I was going to actually just chime in. I turned my microphone back on. Kathy, I just wanted to quickly chime in on the twins thing you brought up. We brought the girls home. We have twins that were in neonatal intensive care, both of which required some respiration type intervention. And so when they both came home, neither of them was on a monitor or anything that way. But we were told that they were not to sleep together, both for germs and for anything that might happen because they didn't have good motor control. One could roll into the other and then suffocate the other one. But one thing that they did say, Mercedes, I just wanted to throw this out there, is that they recommended that they would stay in my room for a lot longer, both for the fact that they would pick up on my respiration, but also since I was at that point trained to look for any signals of respiratory distress, or more listening at that point. But so, totally atypical of what might be expected of bringing a newborn home. But interesting to think about in this concept of co-sleeping versus being in the room versus the 2 infants being together. It was just a unique perspective as a mom.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that they grew up just fine. How old are they now? Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote in the discussion board of coming through the neonatal intensive care experience and the isolation part of that, and having them come home and be on like this kind of 24-hour forced feeding schedule where baby A would eat and she had 1 hour to complete her feeding, then baby B would eat, and then we had 1 hour for me or my husband or whoever to kind of rest, shower, use the bathroom. And then the whole process started over again.
Wow.
And so we would wake them up. And so their circadian rhythm really never got going that much. And so they slept in my room and with me for a much longer period of time. They're 4 now, so they're in Children's House. They're in Cosset at Montessori. But looking back and thinking of those isolatory times and that atypical schedule and just kind of seeing some of the implications they've had, even though, you know, there's nothing major to speak of as far as their neonatal time period and everything that way. But, you know, there are some things that I can look back and pinpoint, like those items.
Yeah, well, that must have been scary, honestly.
Yeah. Our tiny was, she was 2 pounds and 12 ounces. Wow. And our big girl was 3 pounds and 8 ounces. So they made it to 32 weeks gestation, which is good. Really good. Yeah.
How about you, Wendy? What anything from the readings strike you or stick out for you?
I really liked how they talked about the how did she say it? The crises that they recur, you know, throughout your lifetime. And I don't know, that just really made a lot of sense to me. Instead of looking at so many little individual milestones, to look at it as more of a grouping. So I enjoyed that part of it. That made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I think that the way that that Dr. Montanaro looks at crisis too is a little. It's nice. It's like kind of soft, you know. It's not like it's you know, a crisis invokes such a like crazy action, right? But But in the way that Dr. Montanaro described it, it's just, you know, we're just going to see how we did, right? Because we're coming up to the next step, and like, where, you know, did we do a good job of removing obstacles to development? Did we do a good job of meeting needs? Did we do a good job of developing systems of communication? And then you find out, and so. And then I like the idea that those are, it's not just you know, we have whatever the first 3 years, it's a lifetime of development. So,
yeah. And I can really see that with my kids, because mine are all older. And just in my life, I'm feeling my years lately. And so I see different, epochs of my life, and it's just an interesting way to look at it.
Definitely.
I think I shared in one of my
whole process, starting from birth to the end, the whole process, and it goes step by step. Just like Wendy, I have seen the steps also. You know, my son is 40, so we have seen starting from the birth and how it's growing, you know, starting from the speech, the muscle development, everything has, you know, and everything is connected with the movement. Everything.
Yeah. My third son, I guess, my first son is my stepson, so he wasn't here all the time, but my youngest son, because his older brother was what I like to call high maintenance, I did put him in a lot of containers just to keep him safe from his brother, who was, kind of like a bulldozer running around the house. And now, like Mercedes, I look back and I say, well, maybe I was really doing him a disservice. I was just trying to keep him from getting, run over and knocked down. But he's doing all right. He's 21 now, so
I am very lucky in that sense, because my mother was there. So he got all the support from the grandma. And my mother was a student of Dr. Maria Montessori. So, and I was a Montessori child too. So he got all the opportunities that he could.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was not. He's lucky, and I'm lucky too.
Yes.
Definitely. What else did we talk about? Oh, you know what? I had something that I wanted to share with you about that was from this book called Dear Parent. And one of the things that I think, we don't want, I love this video. It's called Seeing Infants with New Eyes. It's a Rai video. It's Magda Gerber. And one of the things that she says in the video, has anyone seen it? Have you guys seen it? Well, maybe someday we can all log on to the Zoom and I'll just share my screen and we can have a group movie, because it's such a great movie. But she says at one point, people talk to their dogs, but they don't talk to their babies. They say to their dog, "Oh, I see you. I know you need to eat," but they won't say that to their infant babies. And again, kind of like, yeah, right. And so there's these really great. Maybe I'll make a photocopy of the page, but like one of the things that I was going to talk about in the last class was just some of the ways that that they suggest talking to the baby, which seemed really profound to me. One of the things that I thought was really cool is, so she says, just tell the baby how you feel and what you think, and do not censor your feelings or thoughts. So for example, I wish I could make these first days and weeks easier for you and for me. Like, I felt like that was a really great way of saying this is hard for both of us, and not even when you talk to a baby, but also maybe like talking to a child in your classroom, like a new child. Like, I wish that there was, it's hard for both of us. and I wish that I could make it better or help. And then I know you have to adapt to so many new things. What a great thing to say to a baby, right? Now I see how much more comfortable it was before you were born. You were growing and floating with no effort, no struggle. Now you feel tired, hungry, and your tummy aches. So much noise, so much light, and so many changes. Like, I love the way, just like laying it out. And then this one, I love this. I want to help you, but often I feel helpless. Right? Like, I think, like some of I'm so tired, I'm scared, my life will never be the same again. Like, let's just lay it out there and say it to me. And the last one was, I feel happier than ever. I want to learn to be your mother. Help me learn to be your mother. And the idea that we can say that to our babies, to our infants, that on some level that they understand what we're saying, that they, and I think the way that like those examples really help us to see how we can share our feelings authentically without like kind of crossing that line, because we are the adult, and we do have to maintain that. I don't know, like I don't feel like it's fair to let children see you kind of lose your, mind. But at the same time, we want to be honest with them. And so I just felt like those phrases were great examples of ways that we can be authentic, but also maintain our dignity.
I think in my experience,
reading about the support factor with the father and others in your families,
right?
How we sometimes put so much pressure on ourselves that we have to be there all the times. We have to be the only support to the child, right? Because we have that bond. and we don't give way to the father or the aunt or the friend to be that support factor for us, to help us with the children and the baby in the raising of them. I like that part of the reading this year.
I like that too. I think that so often the father feels maybe a little like, you know, I don't know if I want to say helpless, but like, you know, the mother's job is pretty clear, right? You know, you have the boobs, or even if you don't, like that, it's just the baby was part of your body for a long time. And it sets you up for a different relationship with this child. And so I can imagine how important it is to find, but you don't have to look, is what you're saying. There's no reason to seek for ways that father can help and to be a part of that early life. I think that we have this idea, I don't know, you know, like this, like, well, I mean, we in the United States, we tend to value like individualism, and like, you know, we have this idea of, you know, we can do it all. Like I don't need any help. I can do it all on my own. And that
independence.
somehow asking for help is a sign of weakness, when in fact it's something that would strengthen the development of the youngest child.
I can personally attest to the importance of the significant other in your life.
Oh yeah, well, how are you doing?
Not about that. No, I can do it myself. I'm fine. No, I'm not fine. There are simple things.
Actually, the social structure is different here, but now it's happening in all other countries also. But what happened is, I lived in a joint family. Like my family is a huge family. Extended family. You call it extended family, we call it our family. And we don't have any cousins. We don't call cousins. That's brothers, sisters, like that. So we all live together. So when my son was born, I really didn't have all the burden on me. They were treating me exactly the way they were treating my son. So, you know, they were bringing me food, everything. All the facilities that I could have, they were providing me. So it was a fun and it was an enjoyable time because the mother gets very weak after the childbirth. And the mother needs help, a lot of support. And I got it. But here, I don't know, when my son will get married, and maybe she won't need me. You know, it's different. It's changing. The whole society structure is changing, and because they think that they can do everything by themselves, and which they can't, and it has an effect on the child, psychologically, physiologically, emotionally. Because when the child is raising by the whole family, the bonding and the love that they're getting, the caring that they're getting, mother cannot give everything. It's not possible.
Well, and I was where I was going with what I originally said. So my husband and I just had this conversation because literally my children 95% of the time want no help from him, nothing. Like, nope, has to be mommy. And I mean, I get that, like I'm mommy, and a lot of kids want that, but ours is like really intense. Like, literally, my children will not let him do anything for them. They will lose their minds if he says, well, I'll help you. Mommy's cooking dinner, you know? And I think we created that monster in them sort of because I always did everything. I'm not kidding you. Everything. He changed 5 diapers in the hospital with my daughter. Other than that, none. And that's partially my fault because I am very much that, like, oh, I can do everything person. Like, I'm not going to ask you for help. I'm just going to do it myself, you know? And we had this conversation, and I was like, if we ever have more kids, I realize what a disservice we just did to our 2 first children. Like, you deserve to have this. But I also didn't realize the importance of, like, those caregiving routines, which is the majority of what you're doing in the first, year or 2 of life. And I was like, yeah, I missed out on making those quality times, and he didn't get to have them at all. And I don't know, this conversation came about because of an argument, but it ended well, at least. So
productive.
Well, and Laura,
it was a productive argument, but it's like, yeah, it's really critical. And like Dabika, it's amazing that you had family because then your children knew that anybody that loves them can help them. And it's okay. You know, it doesn't have to be this particular person all the time. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it is tiring. It's really hard. It's very hard.
Well, and on the other side of that, my experience was a little bit different. My ex-husband was just, man, I was super fortunate with him. He would always jump up and help in any way he could, and he's still that way. But I remember, so he's from a very, very small town in Montana. And I mean, Chris, you can understand what I mean when I say this, but his graduating class was 10, if that tells you anything. So whenever we would go to his hometown and bring Ruby, like people like his mother's age, but especially like his grandmother's age, would make comments like, well, things sure are different now. Can you imagine our husbands getting up to change that? And it made me feel like, wow, how dare you allow your husband to get up and change your daughter's diaper? And I was like, you want to get me a piece of cake while you're at it too? Because I am fine with that. And it was like, I felt slighted. Like they had these backhanded remarks like, well, things certainly have changed. And I just like, ugh, I don't know. Or like it was expected that only the mother can do it. And it was like a man was above doing that. I don't know. Maybe
my husband didn't.
Their husband didn't do it. That's why they didn't have that experience, and they don't want you to get that either.
Yeah, I get that, but I would be jealous. I don't know. I'd be like, "Oh, you go, girl. You got a good one."
My husband was totally willing. Don't get me wrong. It's just
right. I'm not saying that he.
I'm like a takeover. I'm a control freak, Casey. You said that before we started. Oh yeah, that's me.
Well, I think it's society too, because even like the last couple of years going through a divorce and having 2 kids and moving myself, like I didn't ask for help from anything, and people didn't really know a lot, but they were like, you moved? Why didn't you ask for help? I'm like, because I just did it, you know. And now people are like, do you need help? What do you need help with? And now I'm like, well, yeah, I think I do need help with that. I don't want to try to figure it out on my own because it's too hard. I mean, like, I just bought a new microwave that goes over your stove. And my oldest is 20, and she was like, and it was my mom, my oldest, and I. And I'm like, we can do it. We're going to take that microwave off and put a new one up there. We got partway into the project, and I was like, okay, this is way too hard. I've got to ask somebody for help. So I think sometimes society tells us that, like, if you're a mom, you have to be a super mom. You have to get, have the best birthday parties, and you have to have the best this, and you have to give your kid, like you have to do all of that stuff, and we don't. And so I think I'm learning the hard way too, of like, I can't do all that now by myself, so I have to ask for help. And now teaching my girls that, sometimes it's okay if people help you with that, because I physically can't do it,
I think in knowing this about ourselves, it can make us more sensitive to parents in our schools, making sure that we are asking them, do you need help with something? Is there anything I can do? Because we know as people that we don't want to ask for help. And I know that I've definitely found out from parents before that they were almost intimidated to admit to someone that knows more than them, because apparently I do. I don't think I do, but that like they need help, or they have questions. I think some people just sort of push it aside and they're like, oh, I don't want to bother them, or they'll think it's silly, or so making sure that our families that we're working with know how open we are to helping them is really important.
I think that's great too, because I have a little boy in my class. dad is a doctor and has his own practice, and his mom is a doctor and she works at the hospital. So I noticed that she was struggling a lot, like making sure he had everything that he needed. And so I knew his birthday was coming up, and I knew it was birthday circle, and she is kind of scatterbrained sometimes. So I just said, I know his birthday's coming up. Like, how can I help you? You know, he's really excited about doing a birthday circle. We just do like a minimal birthday circle. But and she was like, thank you so much for letting me know so far ahead of time, because you know me, like I can't get that stuff together last minute. And so I think looking at the parents and seeing how they are, and realizing what kind of people they are, and just different circumstances of like helping them too. Like, I am another avenue to help you raise this child, because it takes a village to raise children. And I get it. Like, I was a mom. I had kids that I had to get ready and to go to work. I get it. And sometimes it takes, not that I want to give them chocolate, but you know, like sometimes it takes giving them a granola bar to get in the car. I get it. But when they get here, then I can give them something healthy, you know? So just trying to support them in any way that I can too, to make their life a little bit easier, I think helps the parents realize that, oh, she's willing. I mean, she's like, we're on the same team.
Well, I hope that we do feel like we're on the same team. I think, you know, something that I tell the parents often is that the school and school and home work in service of the child. So we have to be aligned in our philosophies, in our approach, you know, at least on some level. And I think, I'm sure I've said this to you before, one of the things that really the most important relationship that we have is in care is the relationship we have with the parents. And that's
very important.
You know, without that relationship, there can't be trust. We can't work in service together with the child. And it takes that compassion and understanding. And I think it also helps. I think we're all parents, right? Everybody here is a parent, and Rashani's a parent too. And that's a really special gift, I think, to give, you know, that perspective of being a parent. It really changed me as a teacher. Like, I feel a lot of regret for the teacher that I was before I became a parent. It
Definitely.
really humbled me.
I was a jerk. I'm so clueless. Yeah. I was like, really? Why did I think like I would be able to do that better than them? Because I can't. The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. And it's funny because we joke, Chris, one of my teachers is like, the name of my book is going to be Just Give Them the Damn Cookie. It's like, don't be like, you know, just give it to them. Like, you know, don't be like, oh, you can't, you know, whatever. Like, if you're going to give them a cookie to get in the car, just be like, I got a cookie for you in the car. Let's get out of here. You know, you don't have to go through the rigmarole. Just let's lay it on the line. Give them the cookie.
Or there was one child that didn't want to get dressed, and I was like, just bring him in his underwear and bring me the clothes.
Bring him in. Yep.
Don't battle it in the morning. Like, don't make that your hard time in the morning. Like, bring them in their pajamas. Well, the first thing they'll do is get dressed.
Yep, we don't care. We'll get them dressed, right?
Yep.
Okay, I think we're right at time, right? It's 6:30. Okay, is there any last minute thing that anybody has to get off their chest?
I do. I have something I want to say.
Okay.
Laura, I hope you didn't think that I was saying that your husband was refusing. I wasn't meaning it that way at all. I was just saying on the other end of the spectrum from older women point of view. And it's been kind of eating at me like, oh crap, I hope I didn't make her.
No. I just wanted to make sure I didn't make it seem like my husband was a total slouch, because that's not the case.
No, we got it, that you took it over and didn't give him any chance to come and join
that's
you.
True. I'm
we got that. We got that part very clear.
Okay, good.
Well, and I think, you know, the thing that I was going to say, Casey, is that it's too bad even that like we look at things like diaper changes and caring for our children as chores, and that like that's something that you have to get up and do. and that we don't look at it as like, I get to spend time with my child and this is time that I get to connect with them. And so really like your husband reaped the benefit of that, like, you know, and it's too bad that everybody doesn't see the value and the joy in those kinds of experiences. Cause that's where the love is. It's in that relationship.
My assistants are always saying to me, well, I'll do diapers today. I feel bad that you always do diapers. And I mean, I don't always do diapers, but I was like, okay, is it weird that I almost kind of enjoy it? Like, is that weird?
No. I hope
like, I don't enjoy poop by any means, or poop that leaked down the pant. Like, that's gross, man. Whatever, it's gross.
Actually, you know, by doing that, we are making a connection with the child.
Yeah.
So, and it is so deep connection that, you know, you won't realize it now, but eventually you'll realize how much the bonding is going to be. That's very important part for child and for us both.
You get some good stories in the bathroom with toddlers too. Like some really good stories to come home and tell people.
Yes.
You won't believe what I talked about today.
It's so true. All right. Well, I always feel like the chat goes so fast. It's so great to talk to you. I feel like we should go get a beer or something. So awesome. Okay. Well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you back here next week at the same time.
Yeah, and also you guys enjoy the nice, stay warm and safe, because I'm going to be warm over there. So you guys need to be warm by yourself. So get that. And I'll see you soon.
All right.
And I'll be in touch.
Yeah,
this week, I'm going to put the posting tomorrow before I leave. So, so you don't have to start doing it right away, but you know, you do at your time, but I will post it tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right. Okay. And Deepika, if you need me to, I'll be happy to post next week. If you don't have access to, just let me know.
Yeah, I will let you know, but you know, I promised you I'll do it. So I'll try to keep my promise, depending on the where I am and what I'm doing. But I'll let you know. I'll be in touch.
All right. Okay.